welcome in. It is Book Talk Thursday. It is Book Club Thursday. What we do is we assign a book and we talk about it, and sometimes we have the author on to talk about the book. So we would like to welcome you, the author of the book that we're doing right now, The Things Gods Break. Also, earlier in the year, we did the games God plays. The games.
GGP and PGB.
There you go. Crucible 1 and Crucible 2.
Yeah.
The amazing Abigail Owen. Welcome in, guys. I hope thank you so much for sitting down with us and talking about it, about the books and what you do and things like that. Before we get started on the book itself, you have been busy.
Yeah.
You have been busy. We were talking about time zones, and you were in Australia for like a month doing
that was
doing
amazing.
promotion. So like, what is it like promoting this book as opposed to the first book? Because it seems like you were like really kind of on a whirlwind right now.
I am, and it's been a whirlwind pretty much nonstop since the first book came out. Also, first, let me say thank you so much for having me on. I really appreciate it. I've been doing this now about 13 years. Games was my 50th book. So I've been hauling through it basically, and this is the first time that I've hit a level of visibility where I've been invited to all sorts of really fun things, and so I am on for the ride as long as it lasts. That's basically how I'm having such a blast.
So you've been doing this for 13 years. You have 50 books.
50.
That is wow. That is awesome. I'm on like book 2. On book 2, I have one book in the can waiting to get edited, and then one we're finishing. But yeah, that's a lot. That's amazing.
That's very much the romance genre, because I write romantasy, right? So I consider myself, I'm pretty balanced between fantasy and romance, but I would consider myself a romance forward author. And the romance genre is very different from the other genres of fiction in that the readers are so voracious for romance that if you are not turning out at least a bare minimum of 2 books a year, you get lost in the shuffle. And so it is just to keep up is 2 books a year. I wrote under 3 different pen names that were all different subgenres of romance, and so I had a bare minimum of 6 books a year for a while there just to keep up. And so that burnt me out really hard. I had to let go of the other 2 pen names just to focus on what I loved the most, which is the fantasy romance combo. But yeah, that's why 50.
Oh wow, okay. And you've done 30 under Abigail Owen.
30 some odd under Abigail Owen. That's the majority, and then I've got 2 other pen names that are contemporary romance, both of them. So,
okay, because I see the Liar's Crown behind you. I have that on Audible. I haven't started it yet.
Yeah.
But I have it there. What is the work process about doing that kind of stuff? Because we deal, like I said, romance. I have one romance I'm writing right now, and that kind of terrifies me if I have to like put up that many at a time. But what is your workflow? Trying to get that many books out, trying to get different types of genres out and things like that. Because again, what you were saying is the romantasy, the fantasy, those have longer, like, I guess, shelf lives for that. So like, what is your workflow trying to deal with contemporary romance as opposed to romantasy, which were like much bigger books? Because like when you're dealing with romance books, typically you're like, it's like half of this book. And
yeah.
romantasies tend to be a little bit beefier. Like I'm on Brimstone right now. That's a
beefy book. Yeah.
Beefy book.
Yeah, we do. We write beefy books, and in fact, I'm working on one right now. And I just said to my editor, I was like, "Can I write a shorter one this time?" And she was like, "Yes, please." Yeah. So for me, it helps that I don't know if you know StrengthsFinder. If you've come across that yet. It's something that I came across when I was working at Intel, and it's something that they do a lot in the corporate world where you take this long test and it tells you what out of something like 30-something strengths, what your top strengths are, so that your manager can essentially make sure that they're playing into your strengths and not trying to put you on projects that are actually playing into weaknesses, essentially. So it's like play into your strengths. Um, and then Becca Syme is somebody in the romance genre world for writers who took that and applied it to writer life.
Okay.
And how you function as a writer. It's really fascinating. But my number one strength is achiever, which basically means I like to check things off. I also ADHD and autistic, so I have this weird brain function of like I need to have lists and I need to achieve the lists if I'm going to finish anything, basically. And so that's how I function. I have a very, I would consider it kind of a strict word count that I tried to hit when I'm writing my first draft, and then a strict like page count that I'm hitting when I'm doing edits. That's like if I am not hitting that, then there's problems.
Okay, so when you were taking this as a like a 9 to 5, like you were writing X number of words a day or X number of hours a day to make sure everything is, you're very regimented in that way.
I'm much more regimented. I do have to let the creative process kind of step in, as well as the ADD brain, which likes to go squirrel and do other things. So I try to build in a certain amount of flexibility into that schedule. But yeah, I like to get a pretty consistent word count in. And the way that tends to work best for me personally, I go on walks and dictate. Um,
Okay.
and so if I do that enough times in the day and then go back and sit down and like edit that out and make sure that it's clean because the dictation is always pretty gnarly, then that tends to net me my words that I'm looking for the day. And the only time that gets tricky is if I'm really stuck on a section or, it's not working in my brain or I'm not quite sure where to go next. Like when you get into those moments, all the connecting scenes where you're like, I don't care about this scene. I want to get to this scene over here. Like those, I'm like, yeah, that's harder. But
Yeah, I'm on that right now actually. Trying to get to the
oh,
trying to kind of finish the third act of it. I'm a pantser, and
yep,
that's probably one of my biggest problems. Is that like, oh yeah, let's just see how this goes. I have a general idea of where I want to start, a general idea of where I want to get to the middle of it, and a general idea, and then we just kind of meander through.
yep,
Some
oh yeah. And the middle is always the part where you're like, I don't know what's happening.
Actually, the middle part was fine because that was where all the spice was, and I had like where I wanted to
Oh,
get
I
that kind of
see.
stuff done. But now we're not spice because now it started out as like a friend decided, it was just like, I dare you to write this kind of book, and I was like, I can write this kind of book, and it was
Challenging
going to
stuff.
it was going to start out like a little novella, and then it ended up turning into a paranormal romance, and like
Yep.
a lengthy paranormal romance. So now we're getting into the point where like stakes are there. Like I've created the
Right.
stakes. I put the clock on it, and the clock
Yep.
is ready to go off. And I'm trying to get that to where it needs to go. But speaking of stakes and clocks and things like that, The Things Gods Break was an amazing read.
Thank you.
Part of what I loved about it is to not go into too much spoilers. The way, like, we understood the concept that was going to be, or we had an idea of what was going to be, because when at the end of book 1 she's kidnapped and taken to Tartarus by Cronus, we're just like, Cronus, time. And
Yep.
once you started bouncing back and forth between that, it was an amazing thing that kind of reconceptualized your first book,
Yeah.
because a lot of the things that you were talking about were like, oh, why did this happen in the first book? Why did this happen in the first book? And then the second book, you're like, oh, we
Yeah.
understand now. So kind of take us through that, like, that situation. Like, how does that work? Do you have like a murder board that you have to kind of like Charlie Day through the situation, or do you have that like regimented, like, what this was going to be from the very beginning?
So it was a bit of both for me, actually. When I sat down to write games for most of my pretty much every other series I've ever written, I have it mapped out in my head of what's going to happen in each book at a very high level. And with games, I didn't have that. I had the concept for the first book with the trials and the Greek gods, and I was like, I'm just gonna have fun with this, and I'll figure out books 2 and 3 later. And I hadn't let myself do that before, and I really, really enjoyed it. And then what happened was I literally wrote the end on the epilogue of book 1, and I went, oh, I know what I'm doing for book 2, and then naturally for book 3 at that point. And I ran the idea by my editor, and she loved it. And so when I went through my own edits, and then when we went through our edits together, we did it with book 2 in mind, of like, what Easter eggs are we laying? What would be his reaction if this was his situation versus hers? Like, with what we know, what can we set up basically in book one. And what was really cool about that is that it meant that I didn't initially write book one with it in mind, so I wrote it as its own story.
Hmm.
And then because of the edits, it allowed us to just subtly add it in rather than writing book one to write book two, if that makes any sense. And that process ended up working really well. So then going into book two, I already had all the notes of this is where this needs to tie, this is where this needs to tie, etc. What ended up trying to break my brain with book two is that I tend to be a linear writer. I write from beginning to end. The only time I jump is when I'm really having trouble, like with a connecting scene where I'm like, I just can't figure out how to get from here to here, but I know I need to get here, so I'll come back and connect it later. Like every once in a while I'll do that, but for the most part, I'm linear. And I started out writing book two linear, and I couldn't do it. I couldn't. And there was too much of like everything was in my head. And so I was like, oh, who knows what has she done so far? What's been said? So like I couldn't do it that. So what I ended up having to do was sit down and write all of the time travel pieces in linear order. And then break them up in the order that I wanted them revealed, and then write the rest of the story in between those moments, basically. And so that's how I ended up writing that.
That makes sense, because like it feels very confusing, and like it didn't feel disjointed, but like I can understand trying to write that kind of stuff out would feel very disjointed to me.
It was, yeah. Yeah. And so I had like you said, a murder board of like, these are all the things. Once I had them written, then I knew exactly what happened in those moments to be able to like reference and that kind of thing. But it was like, yeah, it tried to break my brain.
Also, this was dual POV.
Mhm.
I adored your Hades chapters
Thank you.
because like she's snarky in her own way in general, but in the Hades chapters, the incredulousness of her. she felt extra snarky, and then he's not.
He doesn't know what to do with it.
He doesn't, because he's never been told no in his life, and.
Yep.
I like the second I think it was probably the second or third where he was like, I'm gonna put you in jail for like forever, and she was like,
Yeah.
Sure, can I get some
Sounds
food?
like a break.
It's like, can I get some food? Huh? And then he goes off, and he's waiting, and then he's like, she's just sitting there, why is she not crying? Like,
She's not doing anything. Yep.
I love the combo there. It was so good.
Hey.
And again, part of that reconceptualized a lot of what happened in book one, because now I have to go back and read book one and like, oh, okay, well, it all starts to make sense now. So that was amazingly
That was
done.
kind of my hope. I would kind of hoped readers would be like, no, okay, well, now I've got to go back and read it with this in mind.
Yeah, that's one of the things I'm gonna do. Especially, I don't know if I'm gonna do it right now, because like my TBR list is
Oh,
just,
TBR challenge is real. I get it.
it's so. But before November, I'm gonna read them both again, right up until book 3 comes out. Once book 3 comes out, I'll be fine. But like, I want that stuff fresh in my head, because a lot happens. Kind of what I'm happening with Brimstone. A lot happened in Brimstone, and I or in Quicksilver, and I read it, and then I started Brimstone, and like, whoa.
You're like, wait a minute, where were you again? Yeah.
But also Quicksilver's like, and I'm just like, I'm not gonna do that yet. But anyway, how do you handle, like, I've talked to other authors that have done this. Do you have any say in who does your audiobooks?
I do. It's, I would say not a lot of say, although if I came to them with a very specific, audio narrator, maybe they would try. But what they do is they send me options for the different points of view that we have. So this time around, it was really, really fun picking out Hades. Tom Kiley just does an incredible job. I mean, like the second I heard his voice, I was like, yep, that's Hades right there. And so, yeah, they'll give me options. If I don't love all the options they give me, they'll give me more options. A lot of it is tied to who's available also. And so, like, if I had a specific request, it would really depend on if they're available right then to do it right when they need them to. And so that's kind of an interesting interplay. But so far, especially for Lyra's Crown, for the Dominion series, and now for the Crucible series, I think those are some of my favorite narrators that I've worked or have done my books. They're all just incredible. Paige and Samara and Tom. The other fun thing with the audiobooks for me, because I'm an audiobook reader these days,
Same.
I find it to be, I think because it's a different medium, it's easier for me to absorb. Like writing as much as I do, and it's hard for me to turn off my inner editor. It's almost ruined reading a little bit for me, and so audiobooks have like brought it back because I don't edit when I'm listening, and that's easier. Um, but one of my favorite parts of the process actually is I get to sit down with, I work with the same audiobook for pretty much every audiobook I've done under Abigail Owen has been the same audio publisher, recorded books. And so I get to sit down with this very, very lovely man named Paul, who I have decided is the most brilliant word pronunciation person on the planet. And that I picture him in a room with all these like tomes of pronunciation information. Because he'll be like, how do we want to pronounce this? And like for the Crucible series, it's all the Greek gods' names. And I know like your basic ones, Zeus and Athena and that kind of stuff. But when you start getting into Titans, like, and I'm gonna butcher her name, Nemsemani. I cannot say it out loud.
I know what you're talking
But
about.
like ones like that, I'm like, I don't know. He'll be like, how do you want to say this? And I'm like, I don't know, Paul. How do we say this?
Yeah, once you start moving past like hypaxia and stuff like that, you're like, oh,
Uh-uh.
some of them really kind of get dicey.
Complicated. Yeah. Well, and
Complicated is the
I
word.
think sometimes people don't, because like multiple times he'll be like, well, this book says that this name is pronounced this way, and this book says this name is pronounced this way. How would you prefer? And then it's like, oh, now I get to choose. And then, of course, whatever I prefer, somebody's going to come back and argue with me about, that's not how it's pronounced.
You were close enough because chat was just like, that's the tightness of memory and mind. It's like, there you go.
Yep.
So, hey,
Yeah.
you were close enough. And that's all
I
that
almost
matters.
shortened her name down to like a nickname because I was like, I can't do this to my readers. But because I had so many characters in there, having multiple names for them was not going to work.
Mm-hmm. Also, they would probably be very incredulous about the fact that their name was shortened too. So then that would cause
they'd be like, I
other
can't
problems.
believe this.
That would cause other problems.
Yeah.
It was like one of your readers would inevitably be like, "Why aren't they angry about having their name shortened?" Like,
Yeah.
we don't need to talk about that.
Yep.
We don't need to give people other reasons to complain about a book. How do you go about writing your books in the respect of self-inserts? Most authors kind of have a self-insert, whether it's a bit of yourself in each of your characters, or one character takes up the lion's share of it. Like, do you see yourself putting yourself into your books often, or not at all?
I do very frequently, particularly with my main characters, and I would say that it's more or less because like I try to make sure that the characters are who they need to be for the story, if that makes any sense. And
Mhm.
so every once in a while, there's characters where I'm like, this is so not me, and so those actually take a lot more effort. Just because it's like, oh, they're gonna go opposite of like how I would react to things, and I have to think through that more. Lyra, of all my characters, is probably the most me. Um, the snark is exactly what's in my head. It's just that she says it all out loud, um, constantly, which was really, 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 really fun to write. I try. It's that odd. Like, I try to make them who they are for the story, but there's a lot of your own experiences or your own gut feel is going to go into that. And then there's just fun little details like I'm a huge Star Wars buff, and so Star Wars is going to make its way in there. I'm terrified of spiders. Fear of spiders is going to get in there somehow. Like, it's kind of things like that.
There's only so much you could share in November. So without or giving us whatever that won't get you killed by your editors, what can we possibly expect for book 3? Like, is there anything you can tell us about book 3 other than, hey, November, book 3 comes out?
Yeah, it's basically that. And it's funny because I had the same problem with book 2 because I left book 1 on the cliffhanger that I did. It's very obvious where book 2 was going to start, so I could be like, well, there's Tartarus. And even funnier with book 2 is that because of how it's so closely tied with book 1, it is basically one giant spoiler. So it's been difficult for me to, even now that it's out, talk about it without spoiling the crap out of it. And book 3 is going to be pretty much exactly the same situation where it's like, there's very little I can tell you. I can tell you that it's a trilogy. I am giving the happy ever after on the romance side of things. Like, it's the happy ever after at the end of book 3.
Okay.
So that's guaranteed. I don't guarantee happy ever after for all the characters. I tend to George R. R. Martin it, and nobody is safe kind of thing, other than the two mains. So good luck.
I'm a horror anthology author often. So yeah, I am very used to characters like, oh, this is a pretty little character. Oh,
Yeah.
they're gone now.
And then they're gone. Yeah.
And now they're gone. And I've had that
Killing off
problem with
characters is one of my favorite things to do.
it
I don't know what this
is.
says about me as a person, but it's so fun.
It's so much fun, especially when you do short stories and like someone just pissed you off that day. Like,
Yeah.
well, they're
You're
gone
like,
now.
and yep.
I do that with our viewers all the time. Like we are, some of our regulars are like, well, you're my new character name today, and like Cajun is talking about he will chime in inevitably like, yes, you killed me off 3 times already in your books, and I'm like, well, those happen to be legends approximately where you live, so it just felt right to do them, and also you helped out with some of the research, so it only makes sense to put you in the book.
Exactly. Well, and for me, I tend to blow up my worlds, but also my list of characters. Like I have huge casts of characters. With games, it was worse than usual just because of how many gods needed to be in there for the pantheon, how many titans needed to be in there for the because they all have to be down there. And so I have this habit of there's certain I am a planner more than a pantser. I'm a little bit of both, but I am more of a planner. And so I generally have a list of characters where I'm like, I know this one's going to die. I know this one's going to be the traitor. I know this one's going to like that kind of thing. But then I have the ones that surprise me. And the reason they surprise me is I get to a point in the book where I go, there's too many characters. Somebody's got to die. And so I go, usually at that point I go, who would hurt the worst? And that's who goes.
Yeah, that you don't want to just murder them off for just
For no
murder.
reason.
No.
Well, and I do, I'm kind of facetious about it, but like I do think through like, why would this hurt this with the worst? It's not just to kill them just for the shock value. Frequently, I find that those are the ones that have the biggest impact on the story, because you are yanking out something that's maybe integral to the story, where suddenly it's like, oh, well, without that, what happens? And so that's fun for me I think that's why it makes it fun for me as a writer, is because it gives me this challenge as a writer of like, oh, how do I work around that now that we've lost this element or this dynamic, or what's the impact of the characters who are left behind? That's the fun part, is figuring all that out.
And you have that like even worse in book 2, because you have the Greek pantheon, and then book 2 you introduce all of the titans, and then you also introduce the other pantheon gods
Of gods, yeah.
in there, and it was
Got
just
lots of
like,
other gods in there.
I was like, wow, that's a lot of people. And then some of them like, I played Marvel Rivals, so like
Yep.
Hello was in there. I was just like, oh, this makes me feel at home, and like, why did she do that? And we won't say what happened there, but like, yes, there's a lot. Look,
There is. It's a ton of gods.
you've hurt me. I understand this. I accept
Sorry.
that. As an author, if you didn't hurt me, I wouldn't. I don't necessarily know if the book would be that good. Like, there has to be some pain there.
My goal is, when people tell me that I've either made them cry or made them throw the book across the room, and not in like a this was a bad book, but in like a I can't believe she did that kind of way, that's catnip for me. I'm like, yes, I did my job well.
Yes,
yeah.
you giggle, and that made your day. It's like, oh,
Yep.
thank you. I'm glad that I made.
I go, I'm sorry for the emotional trauma, but not really.
I've been there. I'm an audiobook person, so I can't throw my car. But like, there were definitely a few moments where I parked and I'm just like,
Yep.
take this in. Okay. Continue on. And then I hit play again. I'm like, all right, we're good.
Yep.
We're fine.
Yeah, when you have to pause the audio where you're like, I gotta take a second. Like, that's the best.
You did. We're not gonna spoil it, but basically, you know the point where I'm talking about.
I do. I know.
You understand when it happened. That was hurt. That was pain. And then once everyone kind of realized what was going on, then the kind of rippled through. It made it worse. It made it much worse. And then bridging off of that situation, things became worse again with our main characters. A lot of trauma, a lot of things to go through. It was
Yeah, that ending is a little rough.
superb writing, fantastic writing, pain, mean. Stop that, but don't actually stop that. So getting off of the Crucible for a minute, what do you have going on? Because again, you have a metric ton of writing that you do get done. Give us some insight into other parts of your writing and things that, like, what do you have kind of boiling on other pots of the stove
In the pipeline, yeah, and unfortunately, I can't talk too much to them.
I understand.
So I've got one of those brains. I think I'll always want to write in the Crucible world. It's one of my favorite worlds. I think that I've built, probably because I love Greek gods so much. But it's just it's been a really fun world to write in, and so I'll probably always be tooling around in there somewhere. But my brain is also just constantly in story mode. And I don't know if this happens to you, as you're just walking around the world and something jumps out at you and you're like, ooh, that would be a good, and sometimes it's a good character, sometimes it's a good, like, book title, and then I'm like, ooh, book title, what would go with that book title? How would we do it? And so that's just constant. It's like a constant running in the background. So I'm always coming up with new ideas. So at the moment, I've got 2 brand new projects that I'm working on. They're both for Entangled. Red Tower is part of the Entangled publishing arm. And so it's under Entangled. One, I can't give you very much about them yet because
I understand.
we haven't announced anything. I will say that one is I can't say anything. The first book in one is done and at my editor. The second book I'm finishing this month and will be at my editor, and then I go into writing games 3 after that. That she wanted to get both of those first books, done and dusted, so that we could get those in the pipeline and moving before I finish out games. And so that is the plan. And they're both different. One, I will say, one is dystopian and one is more real world magic based.
Oh, okay. So like an urban fantasy kind of
Yeah.
ish. Urban fantasy ish. Adjacent. Things like that. I'm definitely with you on moving through your day to day, and it's like, oh, that would be a cool scenario, or this. So like your first book actually inspired me to write also a Greek retelling.
Awesome.
Also, but like in my situation, all the Greek gods are stuck on Earth. They're humans, and the linchpin is Hades put spoilers and Easter eggs and how to kind of unravel the whole thing in the movie Clash of the Titans.
So Clash of the Titans is what got me loving Greek gods in the first place. The original Clash of the Titans.
Yes, the original Clash of the Titans.
Yeah.
And the main character is the main character is like a film buff who absolutely loves that, and they kind of run into each other, and that kind of it's very fun trying to create characters in the real world that mirror those characters. So like there's going to be magic available, but it's not going to be like it's going to be there, but it's going to be very much Easter eggs and that kind of stuff. So I was reading your first book and I'm like, oh, I want to do this now.
Yep.
That will probably be end of next year, because
I love that.
A lot needs to get done beforehand, because I have like you know this feeling, like I have like 8 work in progresses, and it's just a matter of like finishing a book before you go through and go through, because otherwise you'll never finish the books. If you just start working on work in progress over and over again, like you never get a book done.
Yep. And for me, the schedule changes on a pretty regular basis, just because of varying things. So like, I wrote one of those secret projects. I started it after I finished Things Gods Break, because I don't like to start the next book in the series until my editor and I have pretty much wrapped up what we're going to do to it, just in case anything big changes. I don't want to have to, reinvent the wheel basically after relying on what is set in stone. And so it was like, well, I've got some time before she has time in her schedule to edit it. So like, I'll work on this other book while we're going. And then I had to stop midway through that to do the edits. And then I had to and then it was like, oh, I had the idea for the second series, and she was like, stop everything and work on that first. And so it was like, oh, okay. And so I started working on that, and then it was like, okay, pause on that while we get feedback from a couple different places. And then it was like, okay, I'll go back to writing the monsters because it's almost done at this point. And so it was like, so yeah. And then it was like, well, and then we want you to, it was like, so my schedule is just constantly like, what am I working on now? Bumping around. It's, yeah,
Yeah.
ADHD.
Yeah, I can.
Yeah.
I feel that all the time because with our podcast schedule that kind of feeds into the horror anthology. Like I have to write a story every 2 weeks,
Yep.
like a short story every 2 weeks. So sometimes it'll be like the day before it gets done. Sometimes it'll be
Yeah.
early and everything's fine. Like we're coming up on our 100th episode, so like I already have
That's
like
awesome. I love that.
what we're writing because the concept is we both sit down and tell each other ghost stories,
Oh, I
myself and
love
my
that.
co-author, and we don't know what the story is. So
Okay.
like we get a genuine reaction on what is happening because like we're hearing the story for the first time along with the audience, and
That's really cool.
then we learn the lore and the legends and everything like that. So like the 100th episode, like we're breaking a format because we both know what the thing is going to be, because it's going to be one of the big
Yep.
things we've been teasing for years now, and we finally get to it. So like I'm writing a part of that story, and then she's writing the part of that story, and then we're getting it. So, but it's the only time where like I know ahead of time what that story is
What's
going to
that?
be.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
it'll be fun to do.
That is really fun.
It's one of the
Yeah.
big ones that we've talked about. It's like one of the big like cryptids and legends in the US, and we're really excited to get it done for our
Yep.
100th.
Oh, that's awesome. That's
So
really cool. That's really cool. I've actually got a project in mind at the moment that I don't think is going to fit into kind of your traditional novel format and the idea that I have in my head. And so it's like, do I do something where I write it real time and let people read it as I go? Do I, in chunks, kind of serialized style? Do I do it? Yeah. So I'm still I'm debating how I want to put that out in the world.
do you have like a Substack or anything like that that you could
Of
do that?
anything like that, like I'd have to learn a whole new system. Yeah, see where I'm going? It's like,
Yeah,
yeah,
that's never a fun thing.
yeah, well, yeah, there's that piece to it, just the learning of the technology and all that kind of stuff and figuring out how I'd want to get it out there. Then it's like, do I do it where like I show them like a behind the scenes where it's like, here's the dictated version that came out today. Here's what happened after I fluffed it up. Here's what happened, da da da. Post it and then be like, now we've finished the whole thing. I'm going to go back and edit it all, see what the changes are. Do I give a behind the scenes look at it as we go along? Is that even worth it, or do they just want the story? Like it's
I would
fun.
actually kind of love that
The behind the
situation.
scenes.
Yeah, that would be like a lot of fun. You could probably do that on Patreon or Substack.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Is maybe Patreon.
It just becomes one of those things where it's just like it becomes another social media thing that you have to handle, and that
Exactly.
is just
Yep.
that's why I applaud you for doing different pen names. I refuse to do the different pen names, and it's only just because even though I'm like writing so many different genres, it's only because like I don't want to create another
so many social
TikTok,
media.
another social.
Yeah.
I just don't want to create all new stuff and then have to like now instead of like
Start from scratch. on
5
something.
different things that I have to post on a semi-regular basis, now I have 10 things to post and 15. It's like that sounds like a nightmare in and of itself.
Well, and I'm not sure that my brain can handle writing that, because like I said, I bounce around between projects, and this one would be like a year of just writing it consistently during the every week while trying to write other projects. And sometimes deadline things change and move in there, and I need to do something like really focused for 4 weeks, and then it's like, okay, so you're not getting anything these 4 weeks, but then again, that's kind of behind the scenes, so it's like, I don't know how.
Yeah.
So we'll see if I ever do it.
If you do, I will sign up because it sounds fascinating, and it sounds like something I would want to see how that would kind of handle.
Yeah.
Along with schedules, and we touched that at the very beginning, like you are traveling a ton right now. How does that impact your workflow schedule?
That has been probably because, so I already like to travel in general, and to be able to do that for what I do as part of the dream is like let's just cherries on top of cherries, basically, is what's happening with that. And so I'm loving every single second of it. But um, the hardest part for me has been figuring out how to write and travel. I have had to, in the last year and a half, bring on two assistants, one who handles all my social media and one who handles just basically the logistics of everything. And so that has been hugely helpful because they've taken on large chunks of what I was doing by myself for years and years, basically. And so that helps. But yeah, still figuring out the writing piece while traveling. I think what I didn't anticipate, because I was like, well, when you travel, other than like say a book con where you're signing from 8 until 5 in the afternoon, and so there is no chance to really ever sit down and write. There are chunks of time during your travel. Like I'm great at writing on airplanes and in airports and train stations and that kind of thing. I'm in hotel rooms for large chunks of time. I should be able to get some writing done. What I didn't anticipate was that travel itself uses a lot of your brain energy. Because I'm not a nervous traveler, but just how much brain energy it takes to be like, okay, new city, new signs, sometimes in a foreign country in a different language where I'm like, okay, where the heck am I going? Like, just to get from A to Z is like, I'm tired. My brain doesn't want to make a story now. And so that has been a challenge to figure out how to work around it. What it's turned into is writing larger chunks of words when I'm home and my brain is on and able to focus entirely on the writing. And then with the travel time, telling myself I'll write when I have the energy to write. And so those are just gravy words to write less than when I'm at home. That's what I'm doing at the moment. And I don't know how well it's working, but I mean, I finished a couple of books while I've been doing it. So it's like, okay, maybe not at the pace that I was going though. And so that for me at least is a little frustrating.
I can imagine that, especially the book signing aspect of it, because a lot of people don't realize how much like time that take. It becomes a very draining thing. You don't realize it until like you get back to your hotel and all the adrenaline is
like
worn
the most
off.
fun thing, and then you're just toast.
It really is. I got to do my first book signing this year, and it was only like a 3-hour book signing, and I was just like, "This is amazing! Everything's awesome!
Yeah.
Love it!" Then as soon as I got in the car afterwards, I was like,
Yeah. Are you a natural introvert like I am?
No, I'm actually I am the
Are you
golden
an
retriever.
Are
Yeah,
you a rare extrovert, right?
yeah, like my chat yells at me all the time. They like I literally have a spray bottle command in my channel when I get to like too hyper. They spray me, and it's just like,
That's hilarious.
I get it, I understand, because I used to be a night person. I used to be a night owl. I'm getting bonked now. Like I used to be a night owl, so like my stream schedule used to be 10 p.m. to 3 a.m.
Ooh, oh.
And then I would write after I'm done streaming, and so I would write until probably like 6 or 7 o'clock in the morning, and then hibernate until like 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And then I got into a relationship, and she was like, "Hi, I'm not a night person. I need to function during the day." And I was like, "Well, I love you, so I'll completely change my schedule." And now I'm an 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. streamer. But I still have that like just hyper energy, and she's like, I need you just to, I need some nonverbal time right now. And I'm just like, I'm like, okay, babe. And I'll just kind of vibrate in a corner, and then she'll just like, okay, fine, just say what you need to say, and then we'll move on. So like all of the channel and everything like that, they're like, you were entirely too happy at 8 a.m. in the morning. And I was just like, it's fine. This is what you wanted. This is what, like, you had this hyper puppy at 10 p.m. It's still going to be the same hyper puppy at 8 a.m.
That's really funny. Not me. I'm very much a morning person. I could not be a night person. Like, I don't think I could change my, my body would be like.
It took time.
Oh, I bet.
It took time.
That just sounds like torture. But I am actually a natural introvert, and I would argue that a lot of writers are. My therapist recently was like, actually, I think what you are is an ambivert, where I can extrovert and enjoy it. And so that's the book signings for me. And there's something about being around other readers that naturally pulls me out of my shell. I think we just automatically have this awesome thing in common. And so I'm much more comfortable with them. But it means that the introvert side of me at the end of the day gets back to my hotel room and is like, I need to literally just shut everything down and reboot. And so, yeah, I didn't anticipate it being as impactful as it has been.
Yeah, I can imagine that. Like it's I everyone around me, all my friends, like my co-author for our book, she is an introvert. She is
Hmm.
like when we got done that signing, and we're driving home, it was quiet in the car, and I was just like, oh, this is nice. And I look over her and I'm like, oh, she needed this. She needed the quiet.
Yeah.
I was fine. And then we got done and was like, let's make some TikToks. And she was like, really? I was like, yeah.
Yeah.
We have extra time and extra energy. And she was like, what extra energy? And I'm like, what extra energy? So
Yeah, that used it all. Well, and my family has gotten used to me getting home after, I'll be gone for weeks. And I'll get home and they'll be like, so we should not talk to you for a few days, right? And I'm like, yeah, you got to give me a chance to like fill that well again. And yeah, so luckily, most of my family are also natural kind of introverts. And so they get it. But it's like, I'm sorry. I know I haven't seen you or been around, but I just have to, I can't, like, I'm in non-function land right now.
because
And then add deadlines.
you were in Australia for like a month.
About a month, yeah. And before that was at, I think it was 4 different book cons on back-to-back-to-back weekends. And so, and book cons of all the things, like if I do a signing where it's like I go with, a couple of authors, we do a panel and talk, and then we do a signing, and that takes, 2 or 3 hours. That's way easier on my
Hmm.
battery, at least, than book cons where, like I said, you can be signing from 8 in the morning until 5 in the afternoon and for a couple days. You do that. And so they're amazing. I have like the best time at them, but that's so much.
Yeah, it's a
Um,
murder on the battery. Like you need to switch out a
yeah,
battery after that.
exactly. Yeah, I need a whole new battery. This one's toast. And so like, yeah. So back to back to back of those, then straight into Australia was a lot. But it was like, again, I'm doing all these fun things.
Yeah.
Like it's the most fun I've had in ever. And so I'm just like, I'm saying yes to all the things for as long as this lasts. Because in this industry, the way that, the readership goes and what people are interested in, what's selling at the moment, and, that kind of stuff, it changes rapidly. And so, you only get to enjoy the ride for so long.
Mhm.
It's kind of how I picture it. And I think the nice thing about having done this for 13 years is that I know I function perfectly well at, not where I am, and enjoy it, and that I can wait another 10 years for another another press.
You're gonna save all your batteries. You're gonna put them all. You're gonna just
Exactly,
pack
exactly.
them away so that way you can
Yeah.
hit that going, and you'll be fine for like a month, and then I'm out of
Then we'll do it
batteries
again.
again.
Yeah, exactly.
I again, we absolutely love the book. We it was tough. It was tough in book club because some of us were further ahead than others, and we just think
Oh,
it was a lot that we couldn't talk about
don't say
because
it.
there was
Yeah.
so many different spoilers that if you were even a chapter ahead sometimes,
It's so
um
spoilery.
it was
Yeah,
so
the whole thing is
spoilery. That's why I kind of
spoilery.
like Fable. Like we do book club through Fable,
Yeah.
um, and I don't know if you've done any of the book club stuff through there. Like they break down everything in chapters. So like
Yep.
they list out every chapter, and you can comment on the specific chapter, and
Oh,
nobody
that's
nobody will know what's going on until you click on that specific chapter.
to see those comments. Yeah, that's cool.
So like if somebody's ahead and you just see a bunch of like messages in the system, you don't
Yep.
have to worry about it until you get to that chapter, and then
Yep.
you can open up and see what people are talking about. So I do like that aspect of it because
Yeah.
it does allow us to keep up on the book
At their
without
pace.
spoiling it for anybody else.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I can totally see that. That's really cool. What I like about that is, so like, and maybe you find this as well. You write the book so much time before it actually comes out that when people are like, "Oh, tell us, little Easter eggs," and I'm like, "Dude, I've forgotten them all. It's in my OneNote in a list somewhere. I'd have to go look it up." And so you don't get that real time kind of ability to talk with readers about it, and because it's like, oh, I know this big moment and I remember this big moment, but when I go back to write book 3, I'm going to actually have to audiobook books 1 and 2 just to put them back in my head in more detail. And so it's like, I love that it allows you to get those thoughts out in real time and not worry about, oh, this is really going to kill it for somebody else.
Mm-hmm. I have a couple of author friends that I do read their books, and I'll just message them directly. I'm like, look, what have you done to me on this chapter? Why? why did you hurt me here? And they'll just giggle and laugh, and I'm like,
Yep.
hate you.
That's the best.
And then we'll go through. And I don't do that for everybody, because like I would have done that for you, but like I know you were so busy, and I was like, we don't have that kind of relationship, and I didn't want to like just bombard you with like stuff. But like, if you give me that permission, that will happen in book 3. But like because I know, I understand that, like, look, while I am an author, I'm also a reader, and reader spaces and author spaces aren't always a thing that should clash often, because like you do have your own life to deal with. So like I get that.
Although for me, the fact that anybody is interested enough to take the time to really think through it and then want to ask me questions, I think that's that's really cool. You know, the fact that people, I think these are like my delusions that I wrote down on dead trees, that somebody's going to take hours or weeks or even months of their life to dig through and enjoy. And so the fact that they enjoyed it enough to really want to think about it more after the book is closed, that's cool. So I love it when people reach out and ask me questions.
Yeah, that book's gonna stay with me for a while. There's a couple books in our book club that like we still like months down the road, we're just like, man, do you remember that? And
oh yeah,
somebody inevitable in chats could be like, Lola, because they know that it's a book that hurt us 8 months ago.
Yeah.
And we still bring it up. We're just like, you remember Lola?
Yeah. Still
and we're
feeling
just like,
it.
yeah, we still remember Lola.
Yeah.
So this would be like, remember the Greek god that Abigail couldn't pronounce? Yeah, we know.
Yep.
We know.
And so many of them I can't pronounce, that's for sure.
We get it. We understand. I wanted to thank you. I really did appreciate you coming in, because our schedules were not great, because like I said, Australia took up a big chunk of your time, but you were so generous and so kind and accommodating for all this, and we really wanted to appreciate you and everything like that, because you are one of the largest authors that we've done this with, and so it was one of those situations where it was just like, oh, she said yes, yay. And then the scheduling, and it was like, we understand. It's like, I completely get that there's a reason. It's the fact that you're still like talking and engaging, like, she still wants to do it, guys. And then once we got it through and everything, it was amazing. So we really do appreciate you being here. It does mean the world. I would love to have you on next year if possible, if the schedules
absolutely, yeah.
If the schedules match up, or whenever they do, because again, we did, I think we did, so this came out in October sounds right?
Yes,
October,
yes. Yeah.
Because we were originally going to do it in October, but then you were gone for all of November, so we pushed back your book to make sure that we could have you right around the same time. So that would be the same situation. I would hit you up in like September or August or whenever that happens, so that once your schedule comes in, I'd love to have you back again. You are amazing. I hope you've liked this conversation with us.
No, this has been so much fun. I would love to come back. That's awesome. Thank you so much.
I appreciate that. But again, guys, this is The Things Gods Break by Abigail Owen. This is an amazing book. If you haven't read it already, I don't know why you haven't. If you haven't read her series already, you got to start with this one first, because The Games Gods Play is amazing. I don't know if you can get the sprayed edges anymore, but look how beautiful this book is.
They are. It is so pretty.
It's pretty, and this one's pretty, and the next one's purple. The next one's purple. It's so nice. And the title of that one again, because I can't remember what it is.
The Wrath Gods Reap.
Yes. It is a trilogy.
Now, I will finish out the trilogy. I might do spinoffs from there, but it'll be new lead characters, new, big bad, new storyline. So.
Oh, there's nothing wrong with playing in the same sandbox, as long as you give us.
I just like contained. Well, also, and this is the romance author in me, I have a hard time with the couple romantically being torn apart more than 3 books. And it's one of those things where it's like, at some point they're too stupid to live and maybe they should move on to somebody else. Like, I just can't.
I'm kind of with you on that. Like, I'm not going to mention the series, but there was a series that I was just like, oh man, this is awesome. I like the series. Book 2. Oh, this is pretty cool. Can't wait for book 3. Book 3 happened, is like, there's more.
And then when you get to book 20, you're like, come on, guys.
I book 4 is out, and I was just like, you know what? Yeah. And that's kind of the thing.
Yeah.
It's like when if there is a certain amount of reader expectation when you're dealing with these books, and if you don't meet that reader expectations, a lot of people don't continue on to see how the story went.
Well, and some do and some don't. Like I've seen very successful series with, 10, 15, 20 books with the same main character, same couple, and readers are still just, loving it. And if you do it right, and this is, I would say, true for anything where it's like, this is one of those things that's like not my yum, but if it's done well, you might find something that you love with it. I need my happy ever after to come sooner rather than later. That's my preference.
I like trilogies. I will read other longer series. I don't mind that. Like right now, I'm on Dungeon Crawler Carl, and that's like
I love that series so much.
I love that.
I'm the
Oh
best.
my god, one of the best audiobooks,
Oh,
hands down.
ever. I can't, like, I started out listening to that. I started it on a flight and was laughing so loud that the people around me were like, what is happening with you? And I was like, okay, I'm going to pause this and listen to it in private because I was reacting to way too much. It was so good.
Halfway through that book, I didn't realize it, but I was just like, wait, like this is an amazing full cast. And I look at him like, no, one dude. One dude. And I'm like,
he's amazing.
He's amazing. He was absolutely amazing. I genuinely thought that it was a full cast audio, and I was just like, this is awesome. And then, like, wait a minute. Because it was like, oh yeah, Jeff Hayes is awesome. I'm like, yeah, but what about the rest of it? And it's like, no, that's just Jeff Hayes.
No,
and I had to look, and I'm like, no.
Yeah, I want to say some later books they added a few more narrators to it.
No, they haven't.
It's Jeff Hayes.
It's just
They
Jeff
really
Hayes.
haven't.
No.
Oh, somebody had told me that in later because I haven't made it yet. I'm on what am I on book 3 now?
I'm on book 5.
Okay.
And it's
So I had been told that that somewhere added, but I was like, why? He does everything.
right. He does absolutely everything. So I'm on. I just finished 5. So like I'm gonna be hopping into that after Brimstone. And yeah, as far as I know, it's all still Jeff Hayes.
Yeah, he's incredible.
The
books are awesome. Yeah.
The books are awesome, but yeah, like so again, I don't mind a long story as long as like you don't come in with the expectation of a trilogy and then end up with like a 9-book
and then
series.
keep going, and you're like, wait a minute, you promised.
Yeah, I think I did that with Wizard's First Rule. So like Terry Goodkind, Sword of Truth series, like that was like a 12-book series. Amazing series. Love that series. But like I didn't come into it with like, oh yeah, this is gonna be a trilogy, and then we get to book 3, and it's like, just kidding.
Yeah.
Yeah. So again, guys, the Things of God's Break are available wherever you buy your books. Dazan, Barnes and Nobles, Books A Million, because I like books. I just started buying from Books A Million, and their loyalty program, I think, is significantly better than Barnes and Nobles. I'm not sponsored by them, but like this, I like them better. So yeah, I do want to thank you guys. Abigail Owen, you can find her on all the social medias also. Amazing author. She's given us all this time, and we genuinely appreciate it. Thank you so very much. You're more than welcome to stick in Discord. I have an author section that you can just throw all your author news in there if you want. It's up to you, but I know more social media is not always the most fun thing, but like I appreciate you. Thank you so very much. Is there anything else you want to say? Any last moments to drop on us?
A huge thank you for having me on. This has been really, really fun. Just loved talking with you, and hope everybody enjoys the book.
All right, guys. Thank you so much, and we will catch you next time.
Thank you.